So I was called out here. This is a friend of family kind of thing. So, you know, just out here to look at it. They lost some lights. They put on a cooker, like a rice cooker inside, and it blew a circuit breaker. Some lights went out. What they found was one of these tandem little circuit breakers. One was blown. Put it back on. Everything worked normal again. The kicker was when I specifically asked them, did you put anything on the circuit that draws high amperage? And they replied back, yes, we put a cooker on that circuit, and that's when it blew. So right there, right away, it told me it was resistance, most likely. Not an overload, because the cooker doesn't draw much. I mean, it's like 12 amps. And there's nothing else on the load except for lights. So what we did was, my son was out here first, and he said he thought he smelled ozone. And he heard some crackling when they were first taking off the cabinet, the face panel. And my son smelled ozone, but then they could not repeat the pattern again. And checked all the tightening of all the wires and everything like that. Nothing was wrong. So I told him to go inside and turn on the cooker. And what I did was a voltage drop. I don't have my tester here now, but what I did was I went one by one and I tested the voltage. And in the house, there's nothing that draws current in the entire house. So everything was 125, 125, 125. Everything was 125 within 1 or 2 tenths as I was going, except for the 250s. But each leg was 125. Then I hit one leg on this missing one right here. It's going to, they're going to Home Depot to go get it. But this is so old. Supposedly they don't make these circuit breakers no more, or these panels no longer supported. Looked it up on Google, and Schneider said in the Square D's, this panel is no longer supported. You always want to research your panels. Go to Google, go to Square D or whatever the manufacturers, and see if there was a recall. See if they had a problem with fires. Are they no longer supporting it? You know, always do your homework. But what we found out, you can't see it here, maybe. Let's see if I could zoom in there, and if it sees burning in there. Come on, zoom. Now let's zoom in there some more. No. No, you can't see it there. In one of those, there was some burning. And on the back of the tab, inside right there where you see where the touching face is, where the blade goes down over, it was burnt. And so that was the burning ozone smell that was happening at that time. But then everything was re-pushed in and moved around, so it rubbed off the burn and it made contact again, and it worked. And no lights would flicker, the breaker, nothing burnt or anything like that. So what we have here is right now is trying to get one of these circuit breakers, because this was upgraded at one time. This is not the original. The whole weatherhead wiring was replaced. This house was built in about 1947 to 1949, and this was a replacement, as you can see. And then you can see some additions here, because you see someone brought and they added a line here. This is late. This happened later. Here we have some Romex coming through a conduit. So somebody did a little upgrade, and you got 2 different color wires here. And so, you know, stuff has happened over the years. But that was it. Was just friction, resistance at the very, very small contact points of these little edges right in here, these little areas. And that was it. A simple find. Oh, and by the way, getting back to the way I found it, I didn't have my amp clamp with me. I just, my son was here and he just had a voltmeter. So I did a voltage drop test. Like I said before, everyone was 125 until I came across one that was 123. And then I go, okay, this 123 has to be that cooker, because the cooker draws about 10, 12 amps. And so I flicked off that circuit breaker, and sure enough, it was that cooker. So that, instead of using an amp clamp, that was my method to find that circuit voltage drop, because it was a high amperage draw. That's all.